Hi guys, it's John here, and this is a camera test between the Exynos 2200 and the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. So this is going to be a really good test for the noise reduction, certainly, because it is quite windy here today. And we're just going to do a bit of walking around. This is 4K 30, one-time zoom obviously. This is just handheld, I'm not using a mount or anything, so good test for the stabilisation. This is actually the first time I've properly used these, certainly outside, testing video. Switch to ultra wide. But at the moment I can't really tell a huge difference between them. I certainly read lots of comments in some of my other videos at how different the cameras are. So look at these clouds here, for example. It looks like the Exynos has a bit more HDR maybe in there. The clouds look a bit darker, their highlights look a bit darker at least. Certainly not a huge amount of difference. Maybe the sky on the Snapdragon there is a bit lighter in the background the further away you go. Let's go back to one-time zoom now. You can see in the clouds here the difference there. Exynos does look, to me it looks a bit more detailed, certainly on the phone screen itself. So we get some close-ups here on this log. Yeah, now you can really tell the difference between the two. The clouds in the background looking a lot darker on the Exynos. Okay, we'll do some zoom tests now, so we'll start at 3 times. Okay, now we go to 10 times zoom. Certainly quite impressive, isn't it, in the 10 times. It's like the Snapdragon's slightly lighter, the wall colour is a bit lighter. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. Let's try moving around a bit and see how stable they are. It's not too bad. Okay, we're going to get up to 20 times zoom now. This is the max you can go on a video. Yeah, it's quite interesting. The stones on this wall here a bit more defined on the Exynos maybe. Let's try and get a better angle here. So yeah, I'll let you make your own decisions up here as to which is better. Certainly very impressive though, the zoom. And hopefully the noise cancellation is good so that you can actually hear what I'm saying, because it is, like I say, quite windy here today. Yeah, overall very impressed with both phones at the moment. It's quite hard to tell which has the most detail in because the sun is shining straight into my eyes at the moment. So, okay, so we're on the front-facing camera now. and it is. I can barely see the screen actually. It's so bright out here. Yeah, again, the clouds do look. They do look a bit better on the Exynos, to me at least. You can see there to my right, the sky is completely missing on the Snapdragon. You can just about see the blue of the sky. I might have to put an arrow on the screen so you can see what I'm thinking or talking about, but it does seem to be a bit blown out on the Snapdragon. So yeah, very interesting there. I mean, it looks, there we go, it's a bit better now. But yeah, the Snapdragon's completely blowing out the clouds, so it's making it very hard to actually see them. Just looks like one big blob, basically. Did a ton bit of walking. Try not to slip over here because it was raining last night and the soil or the ground is very wet at the moment. I'd still say both are very usable. And again, as with all these tests, unless you actually compare them side by side, you probably wouldn't ever know that there was a difference. Now, I know people think I favour the Exynos over the Snapdragon, but certainly in this daytime test it does seem to be better, in my opinion. Just do a bit more one-time zoom here, because I did hear there were some stabilisation issues in the initial release firmware. Both seem fine to me. The Snapdragon does look a bit more stable at the moment. Yeah, you can see if I'm moving the phones up and down a bit, and it is definitely more stable on the Snapdragon, I'd say. Anyway, I won't keep this going too long. I'll take some photos now. Obviously we'll then move on to the nighttime video comparison as well. Let's do one more zoom test, 3x zoom. Times zoom. Back to the ultra wide. Okay, so we'll just go through the day photos here, and again, both phones really impressive here, I'd say. There is, as you can see, a slight difference in the sky colour, though the Snapdragon tends to be a bit lighter. But as we zoom in on this shot here, I mean, the zoom on these phones is really good actually. But yeah, as we get a bit closer, just check out the colour of the wall. The Snapdragon, it looks a lot darker, and the Exynos a bit lighter. But yeah, they're both still really good. Maybe there's a bit more sharpening there on the Exynos. Again, both very similar here. As we get to 10x zoom, it gets slightly more unusable, and I don't forget I was just using this with my hand. It does look a bit better on the Snapdragon there. Now here's another one where we go into 100x zoom, and we're just zooming in on my car there. You can see both still really good at 10x. Not bad at 30x as well, that's pretty good. Now don't worry too much about this one at 100x, it's quite difficult to get the phones lined up to get the exact same photo, so ignore the fact that the Snapdragon was a bit blurry there. And the portrait mode has worked really well as well, capturing, really cutting out well around my head and face, so portrait mode works really well. Colour-wise, they both seem to be pretty similar, I'd say, during the day. In photos at least. Just doing a bit of a zoom here on this puddle. Slightly more green on the Snapdragon perhaps. Yeah, definitely very similar photos here from both, which is good to see. We don't want to see too much difference really between the two, because that just upsets people. But yeah, these are both performing really well in my opinion. Okay, so we're going to move on to the night video now, and we'll just see how they both compare there. Now I didn't bother talking over these, I just decided to just have a walk around, as it was quite quiet anyway. I didn't want to disturb anyone particularly. I'll just leave it to you now to have a watch and see what you think about the two here. Now I would say that the Snapdragon is slightly better with its colour representation. It does look a lot more true to the eye, I'd say, whereas the Exynos is a bit lighter, I'd say, so the yellows are a bit more washed out. But overall, both still do really well. I was pretty impressed actually, having come from the S21 to how well the S22 is handling things. Anyway, I'll be quiet now whilst we go through the rest of this, and I'll let you make up your own decision. Okay, so just moving on to the night photos now, and I must say I was pretty impressed with both chipsets, to be honest. This is probably the closest they've ever been, I'd say, the Exynos and Snapdragon. And we can see here as we start zooming into the church that the quality is really very good considering it's night. Now I did have these in a tripod, so when we get to level 10 here, you'll see the quality of the Exynos just looks really good. The Snapdragon on that one doesn't look too great, but if we look at this one here, as we get closer, it looks pretty good on both, to be honest. Now the colour representation I'd say is slightly better on the Snapdragon. It's a bit more true to the real life colours that were visible with my own eyes. But yeah, look at this 10 times here. It's pretty good quality on both. This photo here, the gravestones, was almost complete darkness. That was pretty good. And the selfie, well, it wasn't too bad. You can see the church behind, a tiny bit blurry on both as it's trying to focus on my face. Now this was a really impressive shot here of this shop, so as we zoom in, you can really see the quality, especially at 10 times. I was really impressed with both phones here at how well it focuses. You can see a slight difference in colour variation there as well. And again, another zoom shot here as we go in. We can see that both these phones are capturing some really good detail even in the night mode. So here's another interesting one. If we zoom in to this sign here, so this was 3 times. If we go 10 times, I would say this looks slightly better on the Exynos. The colour and the text just looks a tiny bit sharper to me. Here's another one where we are zooming in to the shop across the road. This is quite a big distance, so again, the amount of detail that's captured here is pretty good. There's a lot more difference here in the 10 times. Exynos looks a lot darker. Snapdragon looks a lot lighter. And here's another zoom shot. If we look, when we get to 10 times zoom, just have a look at the detail on the Exynos. It does seem a tiny bit better at 10 times. But yeah, let me know what you think down below, obviously. Okay, so there we have it. That is the March camera test, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. I think, to be honest, they're both extremely good this year. Possibly the selfie camera is the main difference that I spotted during the tests. But overall, both phones cope really well in both daytime and low light. And to be honest, I don't think it's worth importing one or the other of these phones. If you can get the Exynos in your country, just get the Exynos. If you can get the Snapdragon, get the Snapdragon. You'll be absolutely fine with either for cameras. It will be interesting to see what updates come out of these because they're already pretty good, to be honest. If we compare them to the S21 from last year, where the night mode was pretty poor at best. But to be honest, how many people do actually take videos and photos at night? I imagine it's not really many people, to be honest. It's mainly going to be day photos that most people will be interested in. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are down below. Don't forget to check out my benchmark and speed test and battery drain test for these two phones. I've put links down below in the description and in the top right. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.